Just want to take a minute to kind of go over the schedule for the evening. First of all, if you could please sign in at the back of the room, some sign-in sheets to keep you updated on how the Purple Line Viaduct project's progressing. I can send out emails. This is a joint meeting designed to inform residents on the details surrounding the exciting investment CTA is making in the city of Evanston, with replacing the 3 viaducts and as well the retaining wall. First, we're going to have comments from Alderman Wilson and Alderman Nguyen. We're going to have comments from State Senator Schoenberg when he arrives. Then Paul Schneider and Bob Whitman from the CTA. Paul Schneider is from the city of Evanston. Bob Whitman from CTA is going to do a quick PowerPoint presentation. And then at the end, we're going to separate CTA staff and Kiewit staff in different areas around the room. You can ask whatever questions of them at the end of the evening. Very knowledgeable. I think it'll work best from a personal level on answering whatever questions you have. So with no further ado, Alderman Wilson and Alderman Nguyen.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, and thank you to everyone for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. This is an exciting time for us. This is an important infrastructure improvement that has been something that's been on my radar and everyone's radar for quite some time. I do want to point out that, as everyone's heard, the CTA is going to be doing 3 of these viaducts. And what I'm hoping is that this is also going to be, for lack of a better term, a model for perhaps the Metro Union Pacific line, which their tracks run parallel to these tracks for a good distance, and to let everyone know that we are in communication with Metro, and we are talking to them about getting their work done as well. We appreciate all of the efforts that the CTA has put in to get these things done. It will be an inconvenience to some degree, but it will not be an undue burden, and I think once this is finished, everyone's going to really appreciate the great improvement to the look of our community, and as well as the safety of the train line and the long-term investment in the infrastructure for the trains. And next, I'll introduce Melissa Nguyen, the Alderman in the 4th Ward. Or, I'm sorry, 3rd Ward. I'm 4th Ward.
I want to also quickly say how, when he gets here, we're going to especially thank Senator Schoenberg, because he has been instrumental in making sure that the funding for these new viaducts and the viaduct at Main Street, which was done several years ago, has been available to the CTA so that these are very expensive to replace, and so the CTA has had that money to go forward with. And we are very, very pleased and excited to be able to have these 3 viaducts, these next 3, be replaced. And although the inconvenience may seem long and tiresome, it's very short, and it's something that we have been hoping to be inconvenienced by for a long time. And the change is going to be wonderful when it happens. If any of us can just think back about the change that has happened at Main Street, that's going to be coming to Dempster, to Greenleaf, and to Grove, and I really look forward to it. And I just want to say the CTA, working with the CTA over the last, it's only been about a year on this. This is how rapidly this has moved, has been terrific. We have just worked very smoothly with them all along, and these changes in the infrastructure have been looked forward to, and you can already see the difference in the CTA retaining wall all the way along Chicago Avenue south of Main. That wall, I believe, is 103 years old and has not been touched during that entire time, and you can see what a change it's making just to have the concrete being improved and replaced in some places. And it's just concrete, and you can see how, when concrete is maintained, what a difference it makes. So so much of this is thanks to Senator Schoenberg. The first conversation he and I ever had when this part of Evanston became part of his jurisdiction was about the viaducts. And so this is really exciting now to have this coming to fruition. And the other thing that we talked to the CTA board about when Alderman Grover and I went down and testified to them is that Evanston likes to have a party when these viaducts go into place. And it's a very big engineering feat, and we look forward to having 3 more parties. So we invite the public to come out. It's a pretty impressive event when the new bridge is swung over and lowered in place. So why don't we go ahead with the PowerPoint presentation, and when Senator Schoenberg gets here in his busy schedule, I'm sure he'll make a few comments. Go ahead, Paul.
Good evening. My name is Paul Schneider. I am the city engineer. And as both the aldermen stated, we are very excited about this project. It's been a long time coming, I know, and it's going to be here shortly. So certainly there will be inconvenience and noise along with the project, but considering the facilities are going to be in place for 50-plus years, it'll be well worth the inconvenience. About a year ago, when we were notified that the state was going to fund these projects, we immediately started working with the CTA on the plans. City of Evanston, my office did plan review. We worked with them to determine staging areas as well as the best way to detour traffic. So hopefully we can keep that to a minimum. There certainly will be some detours and, again, some noise. But I think the CTA has been very accommodating to our request and have worked, again, over the past year with us, trying to make this as smooth a process as possible. So at this point, I want to invite up Bob Whitman, who is the CTA construction manager, and he is going to present a slide presentation that's going to give a little bit more detail about the project. And as Matt said, we will have a Q&A after this. During the project, if you do have questions of the city, please feel free to use the 311 system. That way, any questions can get to Matt, and Matt can route them to the appropriate party for a quick response. So we want to be engaged the whole time. We'll be attending progress meetings weekly with the CTA, and the city certainly intends to stay on top of the progress as the CTA proceeds with this project. So I'm going to let Bob tell you some details about it.
Thanks, Paul. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Whitman, General Manager, Construction at the CTA. Just put together a little presentation here just to try and give you a little detail about the project, some of the highlights as we move forward. Obviously, many of you have seen we've already started the work, so hopefully this helps explain a little bit, and then again we can answer some questions afterwards. So this is kind of just an interesting picture here. It's just a picture from when the actual viaducts were constructed about 100 years ago by the Northwestern Elevated Railroad. So it's kind of interesting to think that they've been here this long. It's time to replace them. Many of you have seen the shoring that's been out there quite a while in some of these locations. So we're going to be replacing that at all three viaduct locations, and I have a few slides of that coming up here next. So if we go to this first slide, this is existing conditions at the Greenleaf Viaduct. You can see the deterioration, the shoring there, some of the plates on the wall. So obviously ready for some work. The next slide, again, the Grove Viaduct, more shoring on both sides of the sidewalk. I know everyone's very familiar with these photos. And then finally, the retaining wall. You can see the deterioration of the cap there. So we're doing some work on the Chicago Ave retaining wall, which obviously some of you have seen already. That has begun already. So what is our scope for the entire project? Again, the big thing is replacing the existing concrete viaducts at Greenleaf, Dempster, and Grove with a longer steel bridge span. So the concrete goes away and we replace them with a bridge similar to what we did at Main Street and what we did at Church Street. We'll also replace all the ties and the rail and the ballast on the new bridge, improve the drainage systems off the bridge. We need to relocate many of the signal and communication cables that are part of our infrastructure system. Obviously, they pass over the streets along with the bridge, so we have to relocate some of that in order to do our work. Once we're done with the bridge, we'll fix the sidewalk, we'll install new fencing and some landscaping at selected corners of the four corners of each bridge. So we'll improve that, again, similar to what we did at Main and Church. We do have to modify the Dempster Station platform slightly in order to accommodate the caisson work on the north side of Dempster. So you'll see a little platform modifications. We're just taking a little off the south end, temporarily putting some on the north end so we can continue to have our normal train operation while we get the viaducts replaced. Another small piece of work is we're replacing the timber retaining wall north of Greenleaf. That's a wall that's behind the Jewel food store. We're going to replace that with a precast wall to help hold back our embankment there. And then finally, the rehabilitation of the retaining walls along Chicago Avenue and then a little bit behind Greenleaf. So that's really the scope of the entire project. Some key information at dates. Again, this is a CTA project, a CTA contract. Our designer of record was Jacobs Engineering. Our contractor is Kiewit Infrastructure. I have two members of Kiewit, Glenn Zika and Mike Ethier, who are here to answer any contractor questions you may have afterwards. And our construction manager is STV Incorporated. We issued Kiewit notice to proceed on August 18th. So again, we've already hit the ground running here. Kiewit's got a very aggressive schedule. They want to get in and get this work done. Our total contract duration for this contract is 640 days, which by contract would take us out to May of 2013. Now, I do want to make the point that Kiewit's intent is to get this work done a lot sooner than that. This is their contract requirement. However, they are intending to finish the work in 2012. So that's also a good thing. So a couple of the key schedule dates and some of the items that you're going to be seeing. Again, the Chicago Ave retaining wall is ongoing. Retaining wall north of Greenleaf, that work started yesterday, so that's ongoing. The Dempster platform modifications already started. Utility relocations are ongoing. We have utilities to relocate at all three locations, so that'll be happening as we proceed through the fall here in advance of our caisson work. One of the biggest things involved in this project is to get the caisson work in. The caissons are very deep foundations that support the new bridge structure. So there's 4 of them that need to get installed at each viaduct, 1 on each corner of the viaduct. In order to do that, there's a lot of big equipment required, cranes, drill rigs, a lot of trucks, a lot of excavators. So this is the schedule for the caisson installation at those 3 locations. So we're starting at Grove, and between October 10th and October 23rd, we'll have a full street closure at Grove with detours, as Paul mentioned. And that's when we'll perform the 4 caisson installations during those 2 weeks. There will be some night work during those 2 weeks, so you can expect a little bit of noise and a little bit of night work going on. Again, some of that work we have to coordinate with our train movements. We can do that a lot better at night than we can during the day when we have a lot more trains and a lot more people traveling. Following Grove, we'll move on to Dempster, again, October 24th to November 6th. And then finally, we'll go to Greenleaf, November 7th to November 20th, which then would wrap up our caisson installation before the winter, which is really going to help reduce the time we need to have staging areas set up next spring. So once we get the work done in the fall, you probably won't see a whole lot of construction during the winter. The work leading up to the bridge roll-ins is really fabrication, getting the bridge steel ready to go. And then starting in early 2012, we'll start to secure the staging areas so we can actually construct the bridge adjacent to the sites and then roll them in. The bridge roll-in weekends, right now we're scheduled for spring of 12. We don't have exact weekends selected yet. Contractor needs to finalize their dates with their materials, but we'll provide plenty of notice to City of Evanston, to everybody, so you'll know when those weekends are. And then after those weekends, you'll see site work at all 3 viaduct locations throughout the spring and summer. And again, that's when they finish the landscaping and the fencing and the final sidewalk and concrete work. Just to give you a little idea about the staging areas, I'm actually going to come over here real quick. These are a little tough to see. So the staging area at Greenleaf, we've actually, just so everybody knows where we at, these are our tracks here running north. Here's Greenleaf. Again, I apologize, it's a little tough to see from this aerial shot. Here's Chicago Avenue. So we've actually secured a piece of the Jewel parking lot that we're going to be using for the staging area for the Greenleaf Viaduct. So we'll actually construct the bridge here, and then when we're done and it's ready for the roll, we'll roll it in place from that area. This area, the contractor is allowed a 5-month maximum time to use this area. Again, we're hoping that 5 months is reduced. Next slide. At Dempster, here's Chicago, Dempster Avenue here, our tracks running here. This is our existing CTA station. The staging area for Dempster is going to be here on Sherman Place. It's a little tight in there, not a lot of room to build a 100-foot bridge. So, but we think we can get it done. We have enough room. We're going to be maintaining one sidewalk in here for pedestrian access, but the rest of this area will be pretty much taken up. This is available to the contractor for a maximum of 6 months. Again, getting our caissons done early, hopefully in the spring, we can reduce that 6 months down to a more minimal number. And then finally at Grove, again, our tracks running here. This is Grove here. We worked very closely with City of Evanston to find a staging area to build the bridge here. We actually are taking part of Grove to do it. We are going to maintain one westbound lane the entire time we have the staging area. So there will be a detour for the eastbound traffic. I don't know, we'll have more information next spring as we get closer to these detours. So again, this is another one that the contractor has a maximum of 6 months to use. Again, however, we're hoping that that's greatly reduced and we get these rolled in quickly in the spring. So that's the 3 staging areas we have set up. Finally, just a note on the CTA operations during this project. The Purple Line service is going to operate normally, obviously except for the weekend line cuts when we shut down the Purple Line to roll the new bridges in. Again, stuff you've seen before when we did the Main Street and Church Street viaducts. Again, the weekend line cuts are used to roll in the bridge, reconnect all the rail. We start on a Friday night, and we have trains back running again on Monday morning. We're anticipating a total of 2 weekend line cuts in the spring of 12 for the 3 bridges. Obviously, that means we're going to do 2 bridges in 1 weekend. So Keywood has committed to doing that. That's their plan. We support the least number of train disruptions. That'll be an interesting weekend. So we're looking forward to that one. And then finally, again, the Church Street Viaduct, which is the last one we did in 2006. Just a few photos here. The top one showing the staging area, kind of where we built the bridge on the side there on Benson. And then the bottom picture is the bridge now completed with the new tracks over the top of it and train service moving again. So that pretty much wraps up my presentation. Again, we're going to be moving into some question and answers here. I'll turn it back over